Welcome, everyone. Today we'll break down the situation on the front and in world politics for May 14th. It's been a packed day, lots of events, so let's get right into it. Konstantinovka and the Konstantinovka agglomeration. Let's start with the hottest sector. Over the past 24 hours, the map around Konstantinovka has changed significantly, inside the city itself, around it, and along the direction toward Kramatorsk. We're seeing a large number of corrections across several zones at once. Just yesterday, May 13th, the first video appeared confirming the presence of Russian units in Molokarka. It was already clear then. If Russia had truly managed to wedge itself between Chasov Yar and Konstantinovka, this creates serious problems for the Ukrainian garrison. We're talking about a pocket that formed between Novodmitrivka and Chasov Yar. That area includes Chervone, Mykolaivka, Podolske, Stenki and other settlements further west. Today, the Russian Ministry of Defense added further confirmation. They reported that the southern group of forces had significantly improved its positions in the Mykolaivka area. Based on that report, the map is being updated, and the conclusion is this. The Ukrainian side is currently trying to straighten the front line and hold positions as close as possible to Stenki. Why Stenki specifically? Because if Russia continues pushing north and northwest from Molokarka toward the fortified areas south of Popasna, the Ukrainian units in that pocket risk complete encirclement. They need to stay close to their evacuation routes, through Bezimene, Izhevka and Popasna, so that when the moment comes, there's still a way out of what is already a near encirclement. In all likelihood, this pocket will collapse in the near future. Russia will straighten the line toward Verolyubivka and Konstantinovka, which will significantly improve its positions across the entire Konstantinovka-Druzhkivka axis. As for the city itself, reconnaissance and sabotage groups continue to infiltrate the northern and central parts of Konstantinovka. By various estimates, Russia now controls around 30 to 31% of the city. An additional infiltration zone is being added. Fighting continues, and the overall picture is this. It is becoming increasingly difficult for the Ukrainian side to reverse the course of events. One telling detail worth noting here. A few weeks ago, Ukrainian sources were writing about a stabilized front line and enormous enemy losses. Over the past 3 days, the rhetoric has shifted noticeably. Across virtually every sector, phrases like expanding zone of fire control, active pressure, and successful advance are appearing more and more frequently. That says a lot, the direction toward Kramatorsk. Slightly to the south, reports are coming in of improved Russian positions between Verolyubivka, Markove and Fedorivka. Various analysts, both pro-Ukrainian and neutral, are adding a grey zone here. This means Russian units have begun gradually infiltrating between Ukrainian strongpoints toward Fedorivka, Kuzminivka, and further on toward Kramatorsk. The Ukrainian side is not disputing Russia's gains around Verolyubivka, Markove, and Novomarkove. They're not drawing it on maps yet, but in commentary they acknowledge problems and speak of the need to give the Kramatorsk direction close attention. That's understandable. Kramatorsk is the largest city on Ukrainian-controlled territory in Donbass. It is, by several estimates, the anticipated target of the summer offensive. To put it plainly, the front line on the Konstantinovka sector has begun to gradually crumble. The Slavansk direction and Alexandrovka. East of Slavansk, the situation is also shifting. More and more video footage, geolocations, and other evidence is emerging that confirms fighting for Alexandrovka has been going on for some time already. The map we're looking at quite possibly no longer reflects what's actually happening on the ground. A bit further east, in the area of Kaliniki and Reznikivka, pro-Russian sources have released several videos showing Russian soldiers raising flags in various parts of both settlements. This is further confirmation that both locations are now under firm Russian control. Now an important detail that deserves particular attention. To the northeast of Alexandrovka sits a commanding high ground with a monastery, from which there is line of sight almost all the way to Slaviansk. This is essentially the roof of the entire district. Whoever holds that high ground controls fire over a vast area. Active fighting is ongoing for it right now. Russia is advancing through the forest, and judging by how things are developing, Alexandrovka will likely find itself encircled in the foreseeable future. The strategic initiative in this sector already belongs to Russia. The Kupiansk direction. Some interesting news from the Kupiansk direction. Russia continues to hold bridgeheads in the western part of Kupiansk. But the main action right now is on the left bank of the Oskil River, where the situation for Ukraine is difficult. Russian forces have reached Kovsharivka and have begun enveloping it from the north. According to available information, Kovsharivka is under serious threat of being lost. Looking at the overall picture of this direction, in the past there were many salients, pockets, and complex frontline configurations here. Now they are gradually collapsing. Russia is filling the voids, pushing forward, taking new positions. No dramatic breakthroughs, slow going, but methodical and consistent. The moment when Russia controls the entire left bank of the Oskil may not be far off, and from there, direct work on Kupiansk itself becomes the next step. Other directions. Zaporizhia sector, no changes. Huliapol direction. Russia is actively pressing on Voskresenka. A direct assault hasn't happened yet, but the zone of fire control is expanding. Artillery, aviation, and drones are all active. Simply put, a fairly large Ukrainian grouping, a battalion or two, is currently being ground down in that area. They've been caught in crossfire. By the time Russian troops move in, there may not be much left to capture. Dobrovolsky direction. Ukrainian maps show the line optimistically, but from various sources there are worrying signals. A steady attrition of Ukrainian units is happening here too. Beletsky has not been taken yet. Fighting has slowed somewhat. Part of the settlement is under Russian control, but breaking through further toward the approaches to Dobropilya is not working out. Lyman direction, no news. Movement there is extremely slow, largely due to the active work of Ukrainian drone operators. Kharkiv region. Nothing significant over the past 24 hours. Around 7 assault attempts, an average figure for this sector. Sumy region. In the Krasnopilya district, the initiative is with Russia. Bridgeheads are being held and gradually expanded. A large-scale offensive towards Sumy is not expected, but positions are being steadily consolidated. The same applies to the Myropilya bridgehead and the main bridgehead north of Sumy. Luhansk sector, a very small sliver of Luhansk region territory, is still formally listed as under Ukrainian control on Russian maps. It's a matter of time. When it changes, there will once again be an opportunity to report full control of the region. Trump in China, negotiations with Xi Jinping. Now let's move to world politics. Yesterday, US President Donald Trump arrived in China with a sizable delegation for a meeting with Xi Jinping. The visit had been in preparation for about a year. The meeting took place with all the expected diplomatic formalities. Trump used his well-known handshake technique. He sharply pulls the other person's hand toward himself, testing their reaction. That happened with Xi too. At one point, the Chinese leader was caught off guard, and Trump managed to pull his hand toward himself. Xi then tried to recover his position, but the American had already given him a pat on the hand with the air of a man saying, "Too late." After the exchange of greetings, the delegations went into closed-door negotiations. The outcome, a flood of comments about friendship, partnership, and mutual understanding. The US declared China practically its closest friend and ally. China responded in kind. But if you look at substance rather than style, the talks produced no real result. The most Americans achieved. China verbally did not object to two statements. First, that Iran must not possess nuclear weapons. Second, that no one has the right to charge fees for transit through the Strait of Hormuz. The Chinese side publicly neither confirmed nor commented on these statements. Americans are actively amplifying these words in their media. The Chinese are silent. And silence, as is well known, can be more eloquent than any statement. In practice, nothing changed. The Strait of Hormuz did not become free. Today, around 30 ships pass through it, but exclusively under strict Iranian control and oversight, following instructions from Iranian military forces. The status quo is fully intact. Some important context. Trump flew to China from a weakened negotiating position. The original plan was to arrive with leverage, Venezuela and Iran as bargaining chips. Venezuela worked out. Iran did not. The situation there is proving difficult for Washington. So Trump showed up to these negotiations without the benefit of a position of strength. Then there's the old story of the Panama Canal. Back in January of last year, essentially right after his inauguration, Trump effectively pushed Chinese interests out of Panama. Beijing has not forgotten that, and the American establishment has long openly described China as its #1 adversary. Biden called it an outright enemy. Trump's own actions, through trade wars, through the Panama Canal, confirm this in practice, regardless of the smiles in the joint photos. At the meeting, Xi raised the Taiwan issue. Trump is not going to hand Taiwan over to China. That was obvious before the talks even started. In the end, both sides smiled, shook hands, declared themselves the closest of friends, and walked away with nothing concrete. Most likely, in a week, no one will be talking about this visit anymore, and it will have no effect on the war in Ukraine. There are no real levers of pressure. The US will have to rebuild its diplomacy on the Iran front, essentially from scratch. Iran and the Middle East. A few words on Iran specifically. The situation there remains difficult for Washington. The Strait of Hormuz is under Iranian control. Despite American statements following the China talks, there are no real changes. It's not yet clear what instruments the US intends to use to change this. Most likely, the negotiating process will have to start over from the beginning. Summary. To wrap up the day. On the front, Russia continues to press methodically across virtually every direction. Konstantinovka is gradually coming under Russian control. The pocket between Chasov Yar and Konstantinovka is close to collapsing. On the Slavansk direction, Russia is taking key high ground and dominant positions. On the Kupansk direction, steadily taking the left bank of the Oskil. The Ukrainian side is holding on, but the overall trend is clear. In world politics, Trump's talks with Xi were loud and visually impressive, but produced no real result. Iran maintains control of the Strait of Hormuz. The war in Ukraine continues on the same trajectory. Neither the trip to Beijing nor the friendly smiles on camera changed anything here. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video. See you in the next one.